how trustworthy, are you for capital to follow you?
But the real leader in an organization can 10 levels below them. And because of how they act, the impact that they make is so much more in getting things done in those organizations.
It's all about preparation. It's all about networking. So if you're working and you're not applying for us, you don't achieve mileage.
Thank you very much. And also we have with us a very notable role model who is the group managing director of FBN Holdings, another person for our very own Mr. Inamdi Okonkwo. You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much. You're welcome. I want to tell us a bit about the model forum, but before I do that, I'd like to call on our very own, the founder of the Center for Values and Leadership. And we all know him. Another person was what I call a emeritus professor. He will be doing the opening remarks for this ceremony. Can you please let's welcome Professor Park Tutori.
Thank you all so very much. An appropriate point to start is a point of gratitude nothing beats being grateful in this world. And we are enormously grateful to two role models for today. Grateful for the lives they've led, the careers they've had, which makes this possible. Grateful for the sacrifice that they are making. Extremely busy people literally grab that short notice and are able to be here to share with all of us and many more who are following electronically their story. But why do we do this? Is it just a desire to hear testimonies? No. We do this because ultimately human progress is shaped by values. Values shape human progress. And how do values get affected? Values are affected by leaders. The single most important thing that a leader does is set the tone of culture. And the values that flow from that determines how progress takes place. Both role models have had career paths that have enabled them to make choices. Choices in which values have played a significant part. And so the opportunity to share in those experiences is a strengthening source for all of us who are going to, and all of us will be put in positions of leading, whether it's in the family or the enterprise or school, public life. We are all created to lead. And unless we understand how values shape human progress, we're not going to be as effective as we could be. And so this is one of a series of program platforms that CVL founded exactly 20 years ago to help impact how values evolve in our society. It offers the Role Model Forum is one. Another one is called The Leader Without Title Tribute series. A Canadian leadership guru, if you will, that I particularly admire. Years ago, wrote a book titled The Leader Who Had No Title. Many times we think of leaders as people who have positions of power, managing director, governor, president. But the real leader in an organization can 10 levels below them. And because of how they act, the impact that they make is so much more in getting things done in those organizations. So the Leader Without Title Tribute series allows us to look at the lives of people who literally run their careers. Maybe didn't have a big title, they may have had, don't exclude those who have had big titles. But it is really the life that they have had that has had impact that we celebrate. So we take a subject around the area in which those people have worked and have a colloquium on this, and then we celebrate these people, honorees for the LWC series. We do a variety of other things. We like to do training programs. It's not the biggest lacunas in development of people in organizations in our country. It's leadership development. We talk about it, but we really don't do enough to develop leaders. And we begin to find all these gaps everywhere. It's even worse today when so many people are leaving. And I will mention a bank, but a bank that I use, in 3 years I've had 5 different account officers. And each one replaced another person who left the country. So, in these kinds of times, we would need to be more, if you will, directional, more deliberate mass crisis problem to solve. So let me stop there and invite Tola to help us drink from the fountain of our honorees, our role models for today. And thank you also very much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you so much. That's from the Falcon founder, Center for Value in Leadership. I don't know if Prof mentioned our YETP, sir.
No, I didn't mention.
Yeah, that's the Youth Entrepreneurship Training Program, where we train young people in entrepreneurship and employability skills. We've done the training over the years. We've trained people in Lagos, different parts of Lagos, Adibole, Yaba, presently in Ekpeda. We've done Delta State as well, where we've trained over 2,000 young people. And the interesting about this program is that the absorption rate in terms of entrepreneurship and employment is about 94%, which means those who pass training for employability get employed. About 94% of them get employed, and those who come to entrepreneurship set up 94% or more of them set up thriving businesses. Technically, they're thriving businesses. So I think it's something that our role models should look into as well, how we can support the quality. Thank you very much. I remember the Nigerian Youth Assembly, am I right, sir?
Yes.
Yes, that Honorable A.K. Johnson leads. They're a very active part of the YTP and Ebule over these few years, 2 years or 3 years ago. And that's fantastic. Although when I Ebule, we find hundreds of those entrepreneurs. Excellent.
What I'm wearing came from one of the graduates of the program.
Wow.
She makes shoes. Yes. Came out of that program that they do that.
That's great. I wonder about when I know the hotels in Lagos, is it Sheraton, 4 Points, a hotel? We find a lot of graduates from the training that went through the employability route who are already working as staff in those organizations. And I think it's something we need to look into, and we seek support of our role models for today. Encourage our youth. So we're not facing Nigerian youths. Are we lazy? No, we're not facing Nigerian youths. We just need the opportunities to scale. Thank you very much, Prof, for that introduction. Also, I'd like to quickly welcome our online audience. We greet you wherever you are, whether it is in Nigeria and outside the country. Welcome again to the Role Model Forum at the Center for Values in Leadership. Particularly, I want to greet the students from Trinity University who don't join us physically today, but have joined us online. Again, thank you for being part of this event, although it's virtual. When it's time for many that we call it Nigeria, we see how to also pass your own refreshment to you online. Thank you very much. We're going straight into the business of today. So today, as we've always done in RMF, our role models will come up. They have about 30 minutes each. They can do less than that actually, but it should be more than that over time. And they'll talk to us and do justice to the theme of today's event. Very sure we all have the brochure for today. And you can see the theme for this event is the mystery of capital and entrepreneurship in finance. The mystery of capital and entrepreneurship in finance. And they'll be doing justice to that topic this morning by sharing experience in the past, telling us stories about how this intersects capital and entrepreneurship. So please listen. After that, we're going to also have our Q&A session. And not only those here, participating in the Q&A, those online too, participating in the Q&A. Make your questions and comments, and we'll let the speaker know. So our first speaker for this morning will become forward. This is attentively very important. We're engaging and interactive. And join me as a welcome up here, our very own Mr. Elias Kinswa, Managing Director, Global Bank. Can you give a round of applause for him? You're welcome.
Good morning. For me, it's an honor to be here. Let me start by recognizing Mr. Fatumi, the founder of Center for Value. Let me also recognize my friend and colleague, Namdi Kampwa, the Group Managing Director of FBN Holdings. And ladies and gentlemen, let me appreciate what is being done by CVL. It might look very, small, but the impact is huge. Leadership is all about the values that lead. A leader is as good as the value he represents. That's what attracts followers. And focusing on values in leadership means a lot to our nation and environment. So let's appreciate for the Parliament for this initiative. So the theme for this event is the Ministry of Capital and Entrepreneurship in Finance. I will crave pros indulgence to please moderate us slightly to the Ministry of Capital and Entrepreneurship in Value Creation. Because the combination of capital and entrepreneurship ends up in value creation. And what is capital? Capital is not all about finance. Capital is more than just finance. Capital encompasses wealth over time, which includes experience, assets, and of course investments that are deployable. And then entrepreneurship, on the other hand, is the force of creativity, risk-taking, and vision that brings life into capital. So when both comes together, what we find is value creation. Now, I have a very few minutes to speak, so I wouldn't want to go into so much of theory. Perhaps it might be useful for me to give a bit of background, of myself and my journey so far, and perhaps see how the life I have led has brought about some value. Now, I started my career back in the 80s from a firm called House, where I trained as a chartered accountant, and I qualified as an accountant after 4 years, and I went into banking. My first bank was Zenith Bank. We were the pioneers of Zenith Bank, PSC, as completely how they provide before you. So we built Zenith Bank for 20 years, and then thereafter I stepped out to another bank, Access Bank, where I did another 4 years. And then from there, I had a little play of value creation, but the urge to do it on my own was very high at that time. So I said, let me buy a firm. So we bought a firm called First Aluminium PSC. And for 2 years, I tried creating value there. So what I did there was attract capital from outside to buy the firm and try to grow that capital for a while before we sold to PE firms. But coming back to where I was known for banking was very strong in me. And the urge to go for a new license was very strong. And I went ahead and got a new banking license that is today known as Global Bank. The bank was a very small regional bank when we started, 10 billion naira. And within the first year, we got that to a national banking level. of 25 billion. And in 4 years, that bank now has a presence all over Nigeria with 35 branches today, with a staff strength of about 800 people and a capital base of over 80 billion. And of course, balance sheet size of almost $1 trillion in 4 years. And I was just checking, the last financial year audited, the tax that we are paying to the federal government is over 5 billion. So that indeed is value creation.
Yeah.
From nowhere, from nothing, government is earning 5 billion in taxes. You have people employed, about 800, and you have branches across the country. If we didn't dare it to happen, that won't happen. But what makes all that possible is when something brings together capital and entrepreneurship. And what does that magic? A few things. First is the person behind that vision. Where is that trust and confidence that that person commands? That's where value comes in. You are assessed. What do you represent as value? How trustworthy, are you for capital to follow you? Maybe the best brain, the best dreamer, the best entrepreneur. But if you are not trustworthy, you have no integrity, capital will not follow you. So at all times, we must ask ourselves, what do we represent? What values can people describe us with? What's our integrity? How trustworthy are we? And when you are seen to have that qualification, the next thing is the idea you have. How viable is it? Is there a proof of viability? And how can it be commercialized and brought down to naira and kobo? People didn't say dollar and cents. Naira is no longer needed so much. Or dollar and cents. But it's not the same thing. It's going to be able to come down in real terms to numbers that are realizable and attractive to investors. The third item is the value you are bringing on board must represent a unique proposition. A unique value proposition. Not what's already there, but something new and different. So when we started Global Bank, I was asked by CVL, why do you want a new banking license? I said, simple. I have been a pioneer member of the top 2 banks in the country, from the scratch, the only bank we started. And I have been another top leader in another tier 1 bank, access bank, for 4 years. I can tell you what's missing in banking. I can tell you the true customer centeredness is missing. The customer wasn't the focus of banking. It was about how much can the bank make. And at that time, we had over 40% of bankable population that were not in the banking arena. They were excluded from banking. So Nigeria was heavily on the banks. And I said, as I speak with you, sir, 10 banks can be licensed in Nigeria today, and they will add value and survive. And that we did. So that license was to focus on areas that were either not served or underserved. And today I tell you that Global Bank with due respect to Namdi here, we have the best mobile app in the country. And we are the fastest growing commercial bank in Nigeria. We were the first to enable you use your mobile phone to do banking without having data. I can go on and on. Many new things that added value to banking. That was the idea. If what you are putting forward does not offer any unique proposition, it won't attract capital. And therefore will not result in proper value creation. The other thing we must look at is how sustainable. The long term. It's not going to be, a 1 meter, 100 meter dash. No. What you are proposing to attract capital must be what can be there for the long term. It should be able to outlive you. Make your impact, create leaders that will follow you, buy into your vision, and carry on from there. And make it a true long-term play that will go way beyond you, the visionary. And we have in Nigeria several examples. We also have outside the world many examples of true entrepreneurs that have done unique things and have created great value worthy of emulation. We all hear of the electric vehicles, the EVs, EVs. Tesla. He was like a dreamer when he went into that project to create cars that could move without using gas. He had to do a proper proof of concept. It took him time to convince investors. But today is history. He's attracted real capital to that business. And that dream is now a reality. Yes, many of us have copied the EVs, but he stands as the main person that drove that idea to where it is today. We now have electric vehicles in China, everywhere, but Tesla stands out as the one that prepared that in the market. You have Airbnb. Airbnb saw that, look, people are not able to access hotels or use their houses to make money. And it created the largest network of available accommodation anywhere in the world without building any single house of its own. Yes, everywhere. Just an app. It's a simple solution. Of course, Uber. Same thing. Uber has no single vehicle. But the largest fleet in the world, is around Uber. So that is power of ideas. Entrepreneurship comes in, then capital follows. Here in Nigeria, we have a few examples. There's a young guy that worked with me in Access Bank. When he was with me in Access Bank, he was like, always restless. The next thing I hear was it was floating a company called Flutterway. Benga. And he calls me, guy, I'm doing this already. Yeah, I pray for him. Today, Flutterway is a mover in all of Africa in terms of fintech business. There's attracted capital of over $250 million into that Nigerian company. And it's now making waves all over Africa and in fact the world. From being this little staff who worked under me in Access Bank, today, I have to start my by calling him on the phone. But he's now like a global CEO. Made great impact. We had, of course, the Zoom that we all use these days for conferencing. A great idea. Before COVID, perhaps we didn't know much about Zoom. But COVID, brought that, to the fore. And today, there is no single company all over the world that has nothing to do with the Zoom Yes, there are others like there are others now that are there. Yeah, Teams. But Zoom is the main one that is known. And it's from nowhere. So at all times, you must have a unique value proposition that you are bringing to the fore to attract capital. And if you have these 4 items I talked about, and you are ready to stay true, you will of course discover that the mystery of capital and entrepreneurship is indeed value creation. There are 2 things in Nigeria that we can talk about. You have Paystack. Paystack is another one in the fintech world. You have Andela. Andela, what did they do? Andela said, look, I know that many countries in the world need developers, need people who create software. Okay? Let me be a point of contact to provide, to feed that demand globally. Today you have Nigerians who are doing great things in that field all over the world, all coming to the effort of learning. We've seen guys who schooled in Nigeria, the most remote part of Nigeria, never gone abroad, but can create powerful apps. So we are smart as a people, very smart. Not leadership to galvanize, our potentials and take that to the global stage. At all times, we excel. Because we've got what it takes. You know what's so interesting in Nigeria? Even when we don't have the leadership, people rise up on their own and create their ecosystems and support the ecosystem and make things happen. Because imagine if we have that leadership that is decent, how powerful are these own? So I want to pause here and again I appreciate you all for coming, for your audience, for listening, and to please encourage Prof and his team not to rest on their oars, but to keep pushing the boundaries so that impact will remain there forever. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. And that was really encouraging. The comments online also that was will take that during the Q and A. Thank you very much. That was great. I will ask questions too. So you don't ask them questions only. I also ask those questions. I have questions I will keep for you, but I'll be after this will speak out of our copy. Wonderful. Again, a round of applause for Imperial. Thank you very much. And right now, I'm going to begin on our second speaker for today. Like I said earlier, the role that was used. I personally have been following for a couple of years now, about 6 to 7 years now, following from afar. And in general, really do something for us. And please, listen to your attitude. I'd like to welcome our role model today, another person of our very own, Mr. Inambi Okonkwo, Group Managing Director, FBN Audio. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Younger days in the university, I had a boss who said, you don't have to learn how to present to the public. Can I go on? Why do you accept me? Okay, so he said, presentation is simple. So you get to the audience. Tell them what you want to tell them. Then you tell them. And then you tell them you told them. So, and that's what my brother has done. Okay? I won't be surprised. I didn't get crumbs yet from him. Somehow he has spoken to no, Gen Z's, they are not plenty here. They're the same one. Okay, so he has actually done justice to the topic, and something occurs to me. maybe I should take it on a different level, focusing on leadership. But before I say that, I'd like to actually summarize what he said and what the points he made by saying that understanding the mystery of capital and entrepreneurship in finance has profound implications for the financial landscape. You know, have you wondered why a whole lot of families in Nigeria, wealthy families in Nigeria, the founder dies and the idea and business dies? Think back. If I call names, I can call 10 names without thinking. So there's no communication between capital and entrepreneurship. The entrepreneur is gone, and the capital is there. Rather, they'll be exchanging blows on how to share the balance in first bank, one in the second bank, and because the dreamer has come, and that's why in other times, what people do is they set the company up in a way that it goes beyond being a family business. You know, so it has serious implications. And let me just say that unraveling the mystery of capital and entrepreneurship in finance will uncover the key to unlocking economic potential, fostering innovation, and driving prosperity. Everything I told you, I just tried to summarize it. If these things come together, we'll have a better economic ecosystem. Now, in all of this, we were also told that we will be sharing our experience, right? So that people can also learn. So I'll just go to my experience. I'll start with how I even got into the course I studied and how it has taken me to where I am. Along the line, I'll sound a bit spiritual and understand the way that this is reality. So I went to a Methodist-owned school in Benue State called Wesley High School. In those days, they had what was called special science class. So if you're after integrated science in year 3, if you're good with sciences, if they think that you're likely to become a doctor, an engineer, an architect, then you qualify for Form 4A. We had teachers, Irish, English, Nigerian, Indian, everywhere. Very good school. So I happened to be in the group that made it to the special science class. This time, my immediate senior brother, who had gone to the US to study medicine, went there and wrote my parents a love letter that wasn't palatable. Said, look, it's not his desire to be a doctor, he would rather be an architect, so he switched his courses. He explained that after studying first degree, you will now start the medical school journey, and there was some kind of discrimination there. You didn't even stand a chance of getting into medical school. Anyway, a long story short, he became an architect, so I was to be the next doctor in the family. I did JAMB first time. I scored 280. Cutoff was 282. So I went to do A-levels. Took JAMB the second time. Scored, I think, 284. Cutoff was 2 marks higher again. This time, I was to go to school. So someone in the University of Benin said to me, why don't you come in and study agric-economics after year 1? Because in year 1, you will do all the same courses with medical students, pharmaceutical students, biochem, all of that. So I did that. End of session, year 1. Medical school gave me admission. So I was very happy. I left and came back to resume, only for my professor to ask me, did you talk to the dean? I said, about what? I said, I'm leaving you people here, they'll give me admission. I said, no, it doesn't work that way. The faculty has to release you. And I was like, is that a joke? He said, look, if your GPA indicates that you're likely to make a first class, no faculty will let you go. So I thought it was a joke. Anyway, I'm abridging this story before I go into the lessons I've learned. So they refused to release me. Now, at this time, my school hostel father in secondary school was APC to the governor in Benue State then. He was a captain. And so we reconnected in Benin. And I had access to the government house, and subsequently, expectedly, a lot of bankers would come, and himself or the governor would introduce me as this young guy who was studying economics. And so those people got friendly. So one day, and what used to fascinate me with those guys, they used to drive flashy cars, Santana, Audi, 505 Evolution. So without knowing what they studied, one of them actually gave me a ride back to campus one day from government house, because I had a card that says security allowed here at any time, and entry anytime. So I was always, each time I was hungry, I'll just go there so that I didn't have to bother with school food. So somebody gave me a ride. And along the way, he said, "What are you studying?" I said, "I'm even trying not to say it because I'm not happy with what I'm studying. I wanted to be a doctor. Here I am studying economics." He said, "Oh, that's what I studied." And this guy was a big boy in Savannah Bank. I used to drive a Santana. He was giving me a ride in that car. So I said, "You mean I can be this successful studying this course?" And he said, "Yeah, okay." So he said, "Oh, Joe, that's the same thing Joe of UBA studied." And I was like, wow. So this time, I couldn't get into medical school. Long vacation. I went home. Our family doctor schooled in the University of Ibadan. They had a roommate that was very close to him that would leave his banking job in Lagos and come to spend the holiday with him in Benue State, where I lived and where I was born. So when I got home, the doctor was like my mentor. I said, "Doc, this thing is not working. I cannot change now after this study." So he said, "But why are you even bent on studying medicine? You might say I'm a doctor and you want to be like me. But you remember my friend that comes here every long vacation?" I said, "He said he studied the same course in the University of Ibadan. And that the guy was a general manager in a bank already." So I was like, "Really?" So listen, and everything happened about this period when I needed to make a decision in my life. So that person is Lebo Bisara, who ended up being the first MD of Fidelity Bank. I ended up being the third MD of Fidelity Bank. So what does that tell you? You know, the Bible says, "I will go ahead of you and make every crooked path straight." And before you were conceived in your mother's womb, God knew you. So I'm not a pastor, but I'm here to tell you that these things work hand in hand. Okay, so my career journey. I don't even have to look at this, and I think let me just close it too. Because I'm currently trying to write an autobiography, because I'll be 60 next month, and I want to look. I've used my experience each time I ran as CEO or a team leader to actually let people know that it's not he that run it or will it. But that doesn't mean you should be lazy, you shouldn't run. Because if God says He will bless the works of your hands, if that hand is idle, what do you want Him to bless? He doesn't bless folded arms. So we have to do our bit, right? Okay. So, youth service. I'm abridging it. I served in a bank. How? I can tell you, but that's a long story. I served in a bank because a friend of mine, the father was a shareholder. God forgive me, we packaged the father. Because he was a very wealthy Nigerian and said, "Oh, I've been looking for somebody I know, and I know your dad well. So I want you to join John Holt Farms in Benin, so you can represent me there." He was chairman of John Holt at the time. He's dead now. And I got home, I was telling his son, me, when people read agric economics, they're working in banks, Daddy wants me to go to John Holt Farm. I was depressed though, because his word, you know how they say a boss's suggestion is an instruction. So how can chief tell you, after he spoke to me in the afternoon, by evening the MD of John Holt sent a letter to the house. You've been employed in John Holt, report to Benin. I said, "How can I be Lagos?" Anyway, then I did a coup with his son. He was also a significant shareholder in Merchant Bank in Africa. So the son said to me, "I don't know how we present this to the MD." But they said, "I have an idea. Let's call the MD and tell him that you're my he knows my senior sister. You're my sister's son. And Daddy wants him to also work in the bank." So now I got the opportunity to work in Merchant Bank of Africa. Regrettably and unfortunately,
we were strategizing how to tell Chief that I would rather be in the bank. And he had a heart attack and died. So unfortunately, he never knew this game. But let me return to the story. So I started banking, and that's actually where I'm going. I wanted to get to the top, like those guys that influenced me, and that's why I spent time. There was no induction class. All my time as CEO of Fidelity Bank, there was no induction class. I didn't go to speak to the people, because I used to teach Fabristo and at some point, right? But this time, because I was CEO, I would go share stories with them and tell them what they can be. And that helped a lot of them focus. Because you cannot expect to be CEO of a bank if you flunk your training school curriculum. In guarantee trust in those days, if there are 30 of us in training school, if 8 didn't make it, so be it. But do you know it was so good that some banks were consulting the trainers, that those people they reject after the training school, send them to us. Because they already had a certain level. So you must also purpose that you will succeed. And then do your work and leave the rest. Now, experience. Then you begin to go rise in the career. You must know that you prioritize your choices. One day, in training school at Ikeja, some guys came around that said they were GMs, AGMs, they came scouting. Because each time we submitted a project, the MD and DND would go through all, and they say, oh, this guy will be very good in credit analysis. And I remember, by the way, coincidentally, my analysis I did was on John Holt. And so, Dolapo Ogundimu, my boss, first boss in that place, picked me. And then the next thing they said, we'll be going to Port Harcourt to start a branch. And how would I leave Lagos again? You know, he said, you need the experience. I didn't want to go, so I went to late Tayo Adeokuku, and I said, Tayo, I'm doing MBA in Unilag, which was true. So if I leave Lagos, I will finish my MBA. He said, no, don't worry, there's university in Port Harcourt. We'll do the MBA there. Because the scouts that came haunted you, and he did his organogram and put your name, that he wants you to come and be in corporate banking in Port Harcourt. So I thought of another idea. The next day, I went to Tayo and said, I hear what you said yesterday, please. I'm dating somebody now, and I'm likely to marry her, so I want to remain in Lagos. So he said to me, no problem. Where does she work? I just mentioned it, and he said, we'll find her a job. So this time I knew. Then, next day, you see, we were that close to our CEO. God bless Fola Adiola and Tyler Derio. They made us, they molded us. We used to hang, there's a restaurant across the road, All Seasons or Four Seasons. You can imagine when the boys are hanging out in the evening, the two of them will come. We sit, have drinks, and then they'll just pay and go. And so the bonding. So if you remain in the office at 10 p.m., you felt you were doing your work because of that culture. Okay, so we went to Port Harcourt. Oh, by the way, the last excuse that failed was, I said to him, Tayo said, let me make it easier for you. I've actually checked everywhere. The only place we found somebody who can go and replace you in Port Harcourt is one guy in internal control. So you go to internal control. That time, as young bankers, nobody wanted back office function. We all wanted front office, because it gave you networking, it taught you. In fact, the training was, I said, you know what, I'm going. That's how I went to Port Harcourt, and guess what? I'm saying all this because by 1998, by 1997, I had made manager level because of the on-the-job training, because of entrepreneurship of these two founders and what they inculcated in us. And they built a very strong team. So, I moved from, I've worked in a couple of banks. But the lesson for me is, you cannot plant corn and harvest yam, right? As an entrepreneur, you have to understand the business you're running. And when I left, Next thing they said, oh, you will go to Onitsha. And my mandate in those days was beat Diamond Bank, because that was the second bank branch the bank was building in the east. So I got to Diamond Bank. I got to Onitsha. You're not allowed to do FX, free funds, thank God, because for riding in a car with me to a meeting, said to me, now do we know why we sent you here? A lot of bankers have lost their career in Onitsha. Why? They do shady foreign exchange deals with bankers. We want you, when you're done, to return to Lagos the way you came here. Till today, I still remember. He said, if you disappoint us, you have finished your career. So, throughout, look, traders will come to you and name another bank empty and say, let me teach you what they do. I don't know how wide this forum is, but I won't go into those details, but we stood our ground. What will be so long as you have your eyes on the ball. So I'm fast tracking this because we don't have time, but just to share some things that influenced me. I knew Tony in Port Harcourt, and he used to tell me, you know, you guys are so passionate about your bank, so are we about ours. He was the senior manager in all states. But he would tell me something. Nnamdi, I hope you're not one of these bankers, when they pay bonus, to go on a spending spree. You know why I'm asking you? This was in his office in the Transamadi. You know why I'm asking you? Let us start saving money. Ola and Tayo do not have two heads. One day, we will float our own bank. This is Tony. So I have the support of mentors back in Guarantee Trust, and then Tony, who became my friend. And that's why later in my career, when they acquired Standard Trust, they called me to come and reopen all the eastern branches. And I said to him, no, I can't live where I am now. So he will see my wife and say, see your husband. He knows where he should be working. He knows that if he comes here, it will be like magic for him. And I kept pushing back. But because of the trust and the track record we had built, one day in my employment at that time, I worked in one bank I wasn't so happy with. I won't call the name. But of course, the bank is no more anymore. So I called Tony one day. I went on a marketing call with my team to solo. And when I left that place, I was like, no, I can't go on like this. Capital was weak. I wasn't selling a brand that was the kind of thing I was trained for. So I called Tony and said, you know this offer you've been making me? Because he will see my mom and say, tell him he knows where he should go. I just called him and said, I think I want to make that move. He said, my friend, go, this is what you say all the time. I said, no, I'm serious this time. In his solo, he said, okay, I'm going to have her tomorrow. I'll be away for 3 months. I'm going for AMP training. If you're serious, better pass through my house. So I drove straight to his house. He picked up the phone, called somebody that will be the acting MD. Said, you know, Nnamdi, our friend, he's here with me, and you will be the acting MD in my absence. We hired him. He's a GM, so give him offer letter as GM2. That's how next day he traveled, and in 2 weeks I had resumed. Now, why? We built the relationship both with customers and in fact, I'll focus, as I conclude, I'll focus on what relationships can do for entrepreneurs. Because I don't want to just tell you my story or something you cannot replicate. So, I resumed. And then I worked in that place for like 2 years. I got a call again. This time, Standard Trust actually was where I joined. This time, Standard Trust had acquired UBA. And the mantra then was beat first bank. So, now put me out to join a McKinsey team when we were doing the strategy. And the idea was, if First Bank had, let's say, 700 branches at the time, and the combined 2 banks came to 425. So what we did was take an Excel sheet, place First Bank, you know, their locations here, and place ours. So wherever they were not, we marked it red. And that came to a total of 250 branches to be built. Now, because of, you see, what this means is that if you're given an assignment and you do it well, the institution has enough reason to now give you something else to do. You know what then my then CEO told me again? He said, I don't want a conventional project manager or a builder to supervise this project. I want a banker who all he understands is how you take risk and lend money and make sure the money comes back. So for that reason, I'm appointing you project director. You're going to supervise building of all these branches. Then total budget was something like 25 billion. So I'd never done anything like that before. What did the bank do? They sent me on Prince 2 project management training. And I did that and came back and we started. And that's how we were able to build those branches. Then after that, one day I got a text, how would you like to go to Ghana as MD? And that's how I ended up in Ghana as MD of UBA. And came back. So it's all about preparation. It's all about networking. Let me tell you what I learned in Harvard Business School. A professor told me something about networking. You know, for him the formula is, what is network? If you meet me today, how he taught us that, he said, all of you here, how many of you have smartphones? We put up our hand. He said, how many people here have 10,000 contacts in their phones? People put up, how many have 1,000? How many have 500? He said, you see, every time you meet, like you're here now, you exchange cards, right? You're building a net. You're connecting with people. So even if you collect everybody's card here and go home, if you do nothing about those cards, you don't have a network. So he now defined network as you first build a net, then you walk the net. And how do you walk? Joseph, yeah, we met at so place. These are my interests. I work here. Then 1 year later, oh, Joseph, we're doing this. You live in Abuja, right? Do you know any developer that can do? So you keep in touch with people, you exchange values, you share your own values with them and they share. So when you get a phone call, before you know it, it leads to one thing or the other. As an entrepreneur, you also have to build network. Because if you build that net without working it, you don't have a network. The same thing like I teach people about work. In physics, force times distance gives you work, right? So if you're working and you're not applying force, you don't achieve mileage. Okay? So that's the same kind of advice. Now, final thing I would like to talk about is reasons. Driving change. I've had experience in driving change. And I need to share this experience. Even in our homes, your house help, your steward, your driver, people are fixated in their ways. Do not expect the other person to be like you. But at the same time, there have to be standards. So, when you have a team you're leading, and you have a challenge, don't be that narcissistic leader that stands up and says, oh, we have done our projections, we don't need more than 50 people here, we're currently 120, 70 of you go. Give people the rope to either, okay, don't hang, just to do what they like with it. Let me give you an example, and I'll close with this last example. So I came back from Ghana, continued working in UBA, and I got a wind of somebody I've always admired from afar. Because I don't know if these stories will help entrepreneurs, but and I can call his name, Dr. Raymond Obiri. Do you know how I began to aspire to be like him? When I was a regional director in Abuja, he was the chairman of a bank, not even the MD. As I'm entering a minister's office, I see him coming out. As I'm checking into the hotel, you see him. So I was like, how can a chairman be working like us? He was a great networker. But my final program I attended in Harvard at that time talked about why everybody needs a mentor. And you need that also in entrepreneurship. He said, when you go back, go and look for somebody. There's nothing you've been that nobody has ever been. People have been that and more. So when you get back, go and look for 3 people you admire and approach them officially and say, I want you to be my role model. This is what I was told in our business school. So when I came back, I met Dr. Berry and 2 other people. And he said to me, I've been seeing you around. And so I gave him my name. I said, I know you, but you know, we have never come this close. I said, well, I've just come to pitch this to you. That I've just got wind of how I can grow in this career. Because when I'm at crossroads, according to what they taught me, I need somebody with experience like you to help me. At this time, I didn't know I was going to be CEO back home because I had just come back from Ghana. And he said, I'm happy you came to me because I like to mentor people. And he shared his story about people he had helped, even in the bank where he was chairman. And some people would disappoint him, some would get them in a fraud or something. He said, so any person who is willing to be mentored, I take you as a son, I'll mentor you. Anyway, why you need to network? I got a call from him one day that he's been asked to provide somebody to be given a federal appointment. And he thought my profile matched it. So he said, please give me your CV. I sent my CV to him. A week later, he called me and said, if anybody approaches you for money from that Abuja, don't give anybody money. Because I was here in my house, they called me. So, if anything develops, I will tell you. Then they came back and said, whoever will get this job must have been bank CEO. And he said, but this guy has been bank CEO in Ghana. They said, no, the rule says he must be in Nigeria. So he said, well, what's your own? You are an EP in a bank back home. So don't worry, it was just an opportunity. 3 weeks later,
And why am I saying this? I approached somebody officially to mentor me, and this is the result. He called me again and said, guess what? In Fidelity Bank, Willie Obiano, who was ED then, was going to retire soon. That means there'll be vacancy there. Okay, bring your CV again. Because we need people like you there interacting with you. I think you should go there. I submitted my CV. We were 12, I started the interview. Eventually, I got it. So, 12 months later, the MD was leaving. Again, KPMG did the process, and that's how I became CEO. You can argue that that's the way God wanted it. Again, if I did not make the move, if I didn't go networking and explaining that this is who I am, I don't know why I'm introducing myself to you, but shake hands and go. But this is where it got me. So I want to stop here. I think I've done longer, much longer. The reason, with all apologies, the reason is that ask my students, when I come to teach, I drop the presentation, and by the time we land, you see that I was holding those issues. So I didn't have time to talk about 10 reasons why people resist change. I can give you the article to read, but that's what helped me when I became MD. The people you're trying to change, right? Don't give them, don't give them all those reasons. What we did a breakout session in Gotia Hotel, and I showed them what the professors taught us. 10 reasons why people will resist change, because I was coming from outside, so I knew there was going to be resistance. Who is he? They didn't appoint me. So what I did, we had a breakout session over the weekend retreat, and I shared the 10 reasons why people resist change. And I said, if we're going to go into 10 breakout sessions, group 1, you will discuss reason number 1. If it happens in this our bank, what could we do? Till 2, like that, until 10 reasons. So we had 10 different groups. Come and see the way you are vibrating and discussing, like you are very energized. By day 2, we did synthesis. All the team heads presented. Guess what they did? The answer you needed to give was, if we have this kind of situation in Fidelity Bank, what should we do? They were the ones that suggested what we should do. We finished and had them communicate. My job as CEO was to execute. I started. So the thing was like magic. Some people said, since we're deploying a robust performance management system, when you talked about your colleague, I thought we were going to talk about Dejo Lowe. That's the guy that developed something called InfoPool. Look, we call it the single source of truth. It's a performance management tool that even if your boss is a devil, he cannot influence it. Your performance must appear there. So we said we're going to deploy it. And those who don't meet those things, I said we're not laying off anybody until after 1 year we then use this tool. They suggested it. we executed it. But when we did, it led to exit of about 20 senior people from the bank. And so next thing, you started seeing placard in front of the bank against the I said, but you guys were executing your suggestions. Okay, so on that note, I would like to stop here. Thank you.
Yeah, CVL has always been very significant to me in particular. I've been in this forum for more than 15 years, I think. And in every of the forum, I've always been learning. In fact, even when I'm not in the country, I try to join online. And sometimes even when there's glitches online, I call people on ground to do video recording of what is happening in the forum to let you know how significant this event is to me. For example, I've got a lot of networking in this forum. I've also learned a lot of things that is currently helping me in my business. For example, it was in this business, in this forum, I learned or I heard about the medical village, and today we have 2 hospitals and the third one is commencing soon. It was also in this forum to let you know how significant it is to me that one of the business I'm doing presently that is generating some fund to me, that have been mentored by people who have gone ahead of me, who came here to share their experience that this is what they do, and from that time they've been mentoring me.
So for me, the fact that the role models have shared real life scenarios is very fundamental for me. As a trainer myself, using live relatable scenes makes your training more relatable. So for me, that's critical. And the fact that they touch on aspects of the economy, value, leadership, process, something that the leader sets the tone of the culture. So for me, that's critical. And I'm sure that the participants have a good time.
That was fantastic. And very quickly, we'll have to go to the Q&A for our time. We'll got some questions online. But let's start from in-house first, here in the physical venue. So I'm going to take a few questions. We're going to take all. We'll take about, how many should we take? Okay, I wanted 5 questions. So let's start. I can say, and go ahead. We'd like to know you. Can go ahead and ask the question.
My question goes those. For us as young entrepreneurs, we're trying to strive in a resource-limited environment. And when you look at the top reforms, values, and then looking about capital, the history of leadership is one key thing. And running through the performance evaluation I talked about, now we are in a young generation whereby the attention span is very short, and the zeal and the quest for this making it very fast. People want out so determined to get what they want in the very shortest possible time. Now, as a young entrepreneur, you want to inculcate that value. How do you sustain your business during this kind of situation? You want to pay and you don't have the capital, you're still struggling to grow that business. You don't have that capital to pay some of the sound and bright young minds that can share similar value as you are. Even despite the fact that they share your value, but you don't even have that money to sustain them, and you also want to sustain your business as well for young startups as well. All the resources are not available for you to accept this capital, going small and starting small. How do you manage all of those with this performance evaluation and instilling value leadership in the company?
But thank you for that. Big thank you again to the Lions and Namdi. Really, this company has of why this session takes place. In the beginning, the idea was just to have you share your experience. Just your experience, and that's a big team. And you see how that has worked here. But there was also the talk of getting some themes that could also help people take away more than just personal learning from personal lives of people. So when we talk about the history of capital, looking at the corporate sector. Well-known Peruvian economist, De Soto, was written this book titled The Mystery of Capital. And the point is to show how most people in poor countries have assets, but assets constitute debt. Because we don't have the institutional frames, so-called representational systems. And so we thought, let these people whose lives are models share their stories big length. In addition, if we could look at how entrepreneurs profit from a culture that beats the mystery of capital. That is, where you now have land registries, where even if your great grandfather left you one small parcel of land in the middle of nowhere, it immediately is a basis for you to get a mortgage and access capital and start a business. I just came back 3 days ago from Taiwan, Thailand, those places. Taiwan is a country of 24 million people with 1.6 million enterprises. To show how many of them are entrepreneurs. That's why these economies are booming. And I think that these huge lessons from their lives can also stimulate asking questions about breaking the mystery of capital in Nigeria. And from their experience, they can share with us what can be done. I can tell you for free. I'm developing a project in Edo State. We have 250 hectares. Lars knows very much about it. 250 hectares of land. For Nigerian bankers, that has zero value because it's not in Victoria Island in Lagos. You know? So the real value of what we have there is billions of naira. But we cannot use it to get capital, to develop it into a great business. So I just wanted to suggest why we try to bring these two tracks together and we can leverage both their lives and the team to ask questions that can add value to the meeting. All right.
Thank you very much, Bob. Yes, we take the questions one by one, then the speakers respond one by one. Or you want to take it together at once?
Like I said.
Well, actually, fine. So we take two. So it's up to you. How do we access as an entrepreneur, young entrepreneur? How do I access the best talent? Am I right? Okay. So finding out that the best talent is gets a lot of money and you don't have that resources to compensate them. Alright, thank you. Alright,
sorry, please. Sorry.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, our speakers. I'm Dr. Bimola Bimola Holdings, partnership with PT Market. I would like to ask Mr. Elias. Yes, we celebrate your glory, we celebrate your results, but I'm more particular about the process. Yes, what you do behind the scene. We want to see what you did. For example, Daddy almost said my mind. Yes, you were able to start a regional banking with 10 billion. How did you start? What were the things you did behind the scene that brought you to this fame you are? That's what I am much particular about.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bimbola. So, Dr. Bimbola, I've asked, we have seen the showroom, right?
Yes.
Show us the workshop. All right. All right, thank you very much. I'm sure our mentors will do justice, our role models will do justice to that. Let's take one more, then we'll come back to take the next one. All right.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for the great presentation. My name is Gamaliel. Executive Director, Training Service Division, CVL. Mohammed Yunus pioneered the micro scheme years ago, and that radicalized the economy. Back to Nigeria, I've not seen much of that happen. I did banking for 10 years. We have a handful of MFBs. But please forgive me. I think that they have pushed people further into poverty because of their modus operandi. And then maybe we're leveraging on vulnerability. So what's the missing link between what Muhammad Yunus has done that has democratized success? And why are we struggling? 200 million people should not be here. Is it leadership? Is it values? Something is missing. Maybe we need Muhammad Yunus to come and give us a model. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Emmanuel, for that. So, we have 3 questions now. So, our role models respond to the 3. They'll do the last 2. Thank you very much. I can see that discussing, so. He wants to do that, so okay, go ahead. The media team is acting some time. They want to.
So it's more again?
Yes. All right. So let me them that those few minutes. All right. So are you going first or
Yeah,
you want to first?
Okay, you talked about how to attract talent, right? Unfortunately, that's a big problem in Nigeria. The younger, you now for instance, I'm sure you'll be looking at hiring young people in their 20s, 30s. But I don't understand this culture, but it's a major issue everywhere. You have staff, in fact, I want to answer this with an example, then I'll answer what I think. Before I left my last job for this one, maybe because I had become old school, we thought about new school before. Something about /12 was the talk of every staff. They were not happy, they wanted /12. And I said, what do you mean /12? They said they don't like the idea of upfront payments and then you spread the rest over the months. Whatever you tell me is my pay per day, divide it by 12 and pay me every month. And we older people resisted it until we found out that it was costing us staff. So we had to adapt to what makes sense. These younger people don't want to wait for a quarterly payment or take their house and upfront. They want every. So that's one problem. As an entrepreneur, you have to understand the kind of people you're looking for and what they want to improve your successes. Chances of keeping them. I just use this example of /12. It became a slang in my bank then. For like 2 months, I was resisting it until we understood that young people are saying, don't pay me housing allowance as 30% of my pay beginning of the month, year, and then spread the rest. Just divide everything by 12. So that even if they want to resign, they just go, they're not owing you, you're not owing them. That's the kind of thinking. So you have to be aware of that and, through proper interview process, try and see the kind of people that will fit into what you're doing. If not, staff mobility is quite high in that direction, unfortunately. Even in banks, everywhere you experience it. Now, I don't want to talk about Japa because that's a new phenomenon, but it's also affecting retention of staff. I don't know that.
So my core concern will now be for startups like us, and we don't have access to that capital. Sometimes you go to the bank, I don't know, maybe Global's bank is doing something different, and you want to access capital. The loans are double digits, so it has not even helped us as small startups.
Okay, I thought you were talking about talents.
Yes, because you need funding to keep those talents, and small businesses, we don't have that money to venture into that capital risk to say, okay, we want to define our break-even point and we're able to sustain the best earnings to grow the business. So how do we manage all of that?
Okay, before I give the mic,
yes.
You see, in doing your business model, right, you have to be sure your sources of capital and what they'll be doing. So if you get one big idea that requires let's say 5 million naira to start, before you commence, if you do your model right and you plug in salaries, because you talked about huge salaries, can that business ordinarily carry huge salaries? Okay, and if you cannot, then definitely you can't pay that kind of salary. But if you talk about the source, unfortunately, banking today, given we don't have social security system, you don't have alternatives other than something tangible that you can give as collateral. So that in itself is a challenge. But when you talk about huge capital you need to pay, I ask you then, did you do your business model? Did you provide for this huge capital and where you're going to get it from? Okay, so that's what I'll say there.
Thank you very much, Namdi. And let me thank the guy from National use that quickly. I think I'm speaking for most of the youth, in Nigeria today, who are young entrepreneurs. The first thing I would like to point out is that for an entrepreneur, you must believe in yourself and have a clear vision for your business. First of all, I spoke about proving the concept and ensuring that there's viability in what you're going to every other spoke. You must be able to win converse. Okay, that vision that you have for your business, you must have those that you share that believe in and following you because of that vision. Leadership is about people believing in you and following you, not about how much they are paid. Okay? I listened to Volunteer recently when she was giving an address, and she did a simulation in a hall. Last people looked at, she had a project, and that they were going to do some serious work. She needs about 200 people for that work, and that they won't get paid. Okay, they can't put that work in their CV. Okay, and they're going to work from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. On that project. However, they will have lunch, free. For that, she wants to see those who were connected to it, and that project was going to be one that would transform the whole nation. And she asked those who were willing to sacrifice that to stand up in the hall. And so a few stood up. And then she now said, okay, of those that are standing up, how many can go the extra mile of saying they want to put down their lives because they believe in the vision of this project? And then only two raised up their hand. I said that was it. So it's about the leader defining the project and making the vision clear to all. And those followers believing and buying to that vision. When that happens, it's not about the pay. It's about we need to actualize that vision. So if they can survive, like she said, to give their lunch, okay? So survive and pursue. So for a young entrepreneur like you in Nigeria, have an idea, okay? We talked about values earlier, okay? You must represent something, first of all. To attract or win a combat, you must represent something. I mean, people talk about Bin Laden, I keep saying he was a great leader. You know why? To convince somebody to go and die for you, it's not anything. I don't believe in your cause. To say, I will die for this cause. It takes leadership to convince another man to believe in that cause and put his life on the line for that cause. So, it's not just about saying, I have an idea to end that trouble. It's about where am I going with my idea? What impact am I going to make? Who are those that will say, we made this impact together? When you have that, it's easy. And mind you, when that is done, money will chase you. So you'll be surprised that people that will not have come to give you money, will start giving you money and say, look, I think what you're doing, let it go on. So first is you, defining who you are, your value, the system, and being able to sell your dream, that vision, to others to buy and work with you. I don't know if that helps. Okay, that's on the first question, right? So I think Ademola, Bimbola, yes, talked about behind the scene, right? The process of getting to where I am and what I did behind the scene. First, success, they say, is the convergence between preparedness and opportunity. So you must prepare yourself and be ready for low-hanging fruits when they appear. So behind the scene, you must work hard. You must burn that midnight candle. You must be knowledgeable. If you are going to a field, be an authority in that field. Okay? And like Nnamdi said, have a network. You must have relationships that you can tap on to actualize or trigger certain things to play. It's not about just, okay, I have this idea, capital will come. You have to be able to knock on doors that you know can create that win for you. So when, by the way, like I said, you know, Zenith Bank, we were pioneers. I was among the top 3, top 4 directors at the beginning of Zenith Bank. And for 20 years, I was an ED for about 8 years before I left. And the idea was, who can make things happen? I was the first person in that bank. It was like a small finance house to knock on the door of Chevron to say, this is a bank. I remember the first time I met the director of Chevron, said, where is that? Is that a bank or a finance house? But I left there with a 5 million check at that time, when the bank was just 20 million capital base. Okay, what happened? Because of the network I had built before joining the bank, that when I said, look, you must do this for me. And that made me a wizard in Zenith. That what the CEO could not do, this guy went to do. And the next week I went to Mobile Oil. I was a repeat source, the same story. So you have to, behind the scene, ensure that you grow your relationships. Okay? They know who you are, they trust you, they believe you. When they come knocking, they will listen to you. So, behind the scene is ensure that your integrity is intact. Ensure your values remain your values. Ensure that you have reliable relationships. And you must nurture those relationships. Nurture them. And lastly, be an authority in your field and don't stop learning.
What are the particular things, these are general things you're telling us, that I did this, I did that.
Yeah, you know, I try to summarize it to make it, but if I go into particular details, you know, and some names. For instance, you say, how did you go ahead to get a new banking license? Right. So, first, when the idea came, by the way, that wasn't the first time. In 2005, we had continued to buy Nambo, then American Merchant Bank, but the board had sold to us for 2 billion naira then. Sorry, 2 billion. Yes, 2 billion naira then. And I was raising that capital. I had raised 1.5 billion. I went to Portugal to meet a guy who was then the ED of the NDDC. You know his name. And I was with him in his office trying to cut the check, 500 million, when I saw the screen, so the was announcing that it's now 20. You know, so all the air in me went up. I said, hold on, this check, hold on. See how they said. He said, 5 billion? From 2 billion? Where did this start from? I said, guys, just wait. I have to go back to Lagos and we will think this. So that idea was dropped. But it never left me that one day you can actually start go. And when the time came, the idea of buying a new bank, buying another bank, it was like take a new license and start something new. So I had to reach out to my contacts. I must give credit to a particular friend of mine, Peter Mambo, who we were both going to buy Nambo together. I said, look, I'm going to have this idea. He said, oh, okay, at that point in time, he was MD of the bank. He could not participate. He said, well, I'm with you. And anytime I have room to participate, I will join. And when I heard, but he gave me a few tips there and there. And I went to meet my contacts again about network. My contact in CVL. I said, okay, how do I go about this license? and I was given a manual. There's a manual that they give you on how to apply for the license. I spent 2 weeks reading that manual over and over again. And without using a consultant, I packaged my application over about 3 months. And I had what I booklet, and I had about 4 copies of that booklet, and I went to defend the stock before the CVL. That's the open. But behind the scene, of course, we are knocking on doors and saying, I've applied to, what do I do? Natural stuff we do. But they had to see that I had what was required, to run a bank and make something of it. And that was it. And that, you can never ignore social networking in business. Today I play golf, for instance. So I'm working in the golf course now. In the golf course, I'm networking. I'm making new contacts, and saying, what can we do together? That's the growth business. Most of the things that happen in the formal realm, first happen in the social realm, the formal realm, before they enter the life. I don't know if that's ahead. It was a tough question, actually.
Yeah, it's a tough question from Gamalia.
Yes, Gamalia.
Yes.
Talked about Mohammed Yunus CSI scheme now, where you can debit somebody, in any bank and all that, but it's still not where it should be. And I must say that there are a few institutions in Nigeria that, albeit not banks, are doing things for, the low end, the group to access capital, but they'll be expensive. But it's some progress. And as we fine-tune, the structures and the systems, then these things will come out a lot better.
Let me just reinforce a point, especially since Fola and Tayo came up a few times in conversation, and what they dealt with in the beginning, this business of being focused and knowing what you want and giving everything. But the strategy they were starting out with, and I spent a lot of time with them during those early days, as I used to, as me remember, come to Zenith, those startup days. And the strategy was very clear. They built that first branch, Nadia Malakija, to reflect that strategy, kind of 3-star hotel mindset and everything. So one day, they asked me to come and see what they had done. And I went around, this was before they opened, formerly for business. I went around the branch and talked through everything. And went home. At midnight, my phone rings and it's Fola. And Fola says to me, somebody came after you left. One of their former bosses, Adioshu. Oh, Adioshu. They did the same thing they did. Shoot him around like they shoot me around. And he said, very good, and they went away. And then he went to somebody and said, look at those foolish boys. Wasting shareholders' money. And of course, the thing came back then. And Fola could not sleep. So he called me around 1 a.m. What you do? You think we're wrong? And I said to him, what is important is that you believe in what you are doing. There is no right, there is no wrong. Correct. And then they pushed that. Yeah. And today this is the result.
Oh, that's wonderful. Believe in your vision, believe in your dream. We'll come to you. But let's go ahead, my brother. Go ahead. Let me give the mic.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
My name is Sam Alaimi, and I work with School of Artificial Intelligence and Entrepreneurship. Basically, I work with Microsoft Americans, came out to Nigeria and go out and a huge market for African market. I was head of an institution that focused on training on technology skills. So a couple of years later, we discovered that now we did R&D project for the military inside the Nigerian department. And so one of the problems we have so far is that especially in India today that many, and people think it's right. People think if you have to ask anybody questions now, if you have to anybody to talk to you now, what are the things you specialize in? The first thing you will say is tech skill. But there is a huge, massive gap between skill and transitioning of them. So what it means that I might be very good in front-end development, mobile development, but getting an opportunity is a massive problem. And people are not seeing this. And there are factors attached to that. And one of the factors discovered that many tech people, especially who are just coming up, they don't have the young skill, they don't have the space to practice. Many of them give project that is not realistic. And we did something 2 years later to develop a hub called Nurture Tech Hub. Basically, it's working to nurture. And just like what he was talking about, getting the right people for the job. I have friends that have startup technology, fintech companies, and 2 years later, their CCOs sell things like, I'm leaving your company, and they don't just leave, they'll go to the back end to tamper with the APIs. And it's crippled the whole business, and I discovered there's a problem, so we reached out to them, okay, fine. Bring your projects to us, we give to our students, and we fix over like 17 projects. So my problem is this. We have over 150 students we train. We have an application with NYC, with a couple of few people as well. And we need projects. First thing first, we need projects. And reaching out to government agencies, reaching out to ministers and commissioners. And my first question is, now you mentioned following up calls and so on. When you submit a proposal and you send proposal, matter of fact, we are even it for free. Because we have the capacity to fund ourselves. We are charging our students, and usually if any student come up with a project, we can easily sell it and solve practical problems. When is the right time what's the yardstick to know, should I do a follow-up call? Should I stop? Because personally, for me, when you call me too much, I get bored. So when is the time to say, if I know that, let me give this person a break? And when is the right time to do a massive aggressive follow-up?
So the other question is respect to mentorship as well. You mentioned that you need a role model. I don't know if you can, one of us. Have that. So sorry, the last question.
When you start the mentorship, you handle out. Thank you very much for that question. Let's take, okay, all right.
Right. Good afternoon. Yeah, I'm Joshua. I'm an engineer, marine engineer, in the LNG, LPG shipping industry. Thank you, Dr. Bartomi. This is maybe my 11th time. It's in 2006 after coming. Thank you to our role models for taking up time to share the time with us. Right, so my questions. One, how do you protect your business while looking for capital? So you're approaching people, asking them to invest, approaching organizations, asking them to invest in everything like that. How do you then protect your business from people running away with your ideas or your proposal? Right, so the other one is, I can tell from both of your stories, you built a business around your career. You worked with the banks, and then you own banks, right? So I've been in the maritime engineering business and shipping business. I've got like 15 years work experience, and all my, I can create a business around this space, but these are highly capital intensive. LNG shipping businesses, LPG shipping businesses, repairs, dry docking. These are the kind of things I do. I don't think. For me to get capital to start or to buy a ship or to approach someone to manage their ship or to build a shipyard in Nigeria, we have huge opportunities around the blue economy, it's called now by our president. It's overwhelming. Some advice would work out. And I also wanted to ask if you can be my mentor. He said it earlier.
All right. Actually, we have people online also asking for possibility of mentorship as well. And since we're having a school of mentees now, I think both models was a model, yes, and used to ensure that the mentees get mentored, right? Yes. All right. So those are just two questions, but somebody I've been asked to allow a person to ask this question. So we just ask the question straight. Okay.
We program related to Professor Bartomi and his celebrants today. I want to say that your stories are so amazing, and I keep to that to be to follow you up to the last. My question is just a kind of how best way we can scale up activities, especially within communities that work properly over time, by empowering young people who today run and own sustainable business enterprises within the community. How best we can scale it up, give them the support to sustain it. Because you just said something, now some of them have created the opportunity, but how do we fund it? You told us that the best way to predict your future is to create it. And what you're just trying to say, that you said to predict your future, you must create it. So they have created it now, but how they possibly sustain these opportunities? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, we're going to our role models now. I know that the Italian is going to take it first.
Just share.
So I have 3 questions, so they'll take those questions respectively. Thank you.
Okay. He talked about how to follow up and when to know to stop. You have to be sensitive and attentive. If you're interacting with somebody, you see the vibes that are giving up. Okay, let me get back to you. Call again, let me get back to you. You don't have all the time to work that out. I'm also not saying you shouldn't persist, but you have to unveil by interaction whether this person actually wants to help or mentor you, right? So that's all I can say. I mean, if it's human, if you're interacting with somebody, you know people that just want to tell you something to what you do. Okay, so how to protect your business? Well, it depends on the industry. In banking today, we know, I mean, there are certain things that if you find something new and you're developing it, how to protect it is make sure you work with only people who you are confident will not give away your formula. Just like producing, a new product. You IT people, when Elon Musk thought of this satellite, internet thing, I'm not sure he went about telling people what he was thinking until it was time. So basically, just for you to know how to control the information you give out. Now, mentorship. I didn't also tell you that for 2 years, I was chairman of Chartered Institute of Bankers Mentorship and Advisory Committee. So there is a format. Exactly. It was vice. Can you imagine? It's true. I was vice for that particular committee, and you will be amazed. What you know why we made it formal. You log into the portal, you look at people's profiles, you select who you want to mentor you, you reach out to them, they contact you, and the mentorship starts. And then the Chartered Institute monitors what goes on. There are rules, of course. Mentorship doesn't mean because I'm your mentor, on Sunday morning you come and knock on my door. Or it's not a place for marketing, where people will look at somebody and say, this woman is rich, let's have mentor me. No, so you just select from people and they do. So that way, it was a brilliant idea. And then after that, there's a graduation ceremony and all of that. And then the relationship continues from there, or may not continue from there. So let me give Elias to take the rest. Now I just remember that we were that community.
Thank you. Sam Olaide, right? You were asking when to know where to continue follow-up calls now. I refer you to somebody where friends get tired. Like somebody comes, your neighbor comes to your house, in the night, asking for a loaf of bread. Then keeps knocking. If you persist, if you don't out of love of neighbor, wake up. You will partake of your own sleep. Okay? Let me give that sleep. Okay? So first is, if you believe that person has what you want, please don't give up. Don't give up. Continue the best way you can to reach him. You're supposed to think more. You're supposed to reach him until you are answered. Never give up. The issue is, ask yourself, does this person have what I want? If yes, please, no matter what person say, I'm sure I'm right here. Your spouse probably not the first attempt that he said yes. But because you believe that's the person for you, you keep going until yes, it's achieved. So that's my simple advice. Don't ever give up. I think the second question had to do with how to protect your business while seeking capital. And that was from somebody down there.
The marine guy.
Yeah, the marine guy. You know, I talked earlier about always having a unique value proposition.
Yeah.
When you have that, and you are able to convince the world that that proposition is viable and actually value adding, okay? It not requires you to patent your innovation really. So if it's something that is so technical, you know, you can actually get a patent before you make it, open. That way, your idea is protected. Somebody can go into it, okay, and you can save capital. But I repeat again that capital is like water poured on the ground, okay? It flows naturally to where it's most, needed. So once people see that value, okay, and you can prove it, it doesn't take time, to get it to actualize that dream. So at all times is to ensure that we are able to have a proof of concept that you can demonstrate to anybody that look, this thing has value and it can be actualized, and this is time, this is the period of gestation that you need to deliver a return. I tell you an example. The bank that's that we started. When I was losing 10 billion, I didn't have all the money myself. So if you guys are told me they will give, when it came to say bring money, oh, you hear stories. I talked about it. All things started coming. I think what I do, this project, I will make sure that the first year running the business, I start making profits. So I have to write for some people. I completely write it. And if the first day don't get profits, ask me what out of the business. And I raised that money in the business. By the time I started the bank, the first 6 months, I said I want to raise another 16 billion to the 25 billion national bank. I said, you haven't even done the first one. So I told one of them, I said, look, this 10 billion that we have as share capital, okay? My profits in the second year will be more than half of that capital. He said, how? I said, don't worry, just believe in me. We did. And true to it, our first 12 months of operation, my PBT was 5.4 billion. Out of that capital of 10 billion. So that attracted, a lot of attention and more capital. And by the second year, I was over 25 billion. By the third year, over 50 billion. By now, I'm over 80 billion. So it is that show of performance that attracts capital, to you. People are saying, look, this man is not marrying more with that money. He's not buying it at that money. Actually, it's being invested and the bank is growing. So that way you protect your business and your capital grows and follows you. Honorable talked about how to scale activities in local communities. How to scale. The essence of community development is being able to identify, ideators and raise community to different levels by scaling, those ideas. And it's often done by the support of people in that community who have needs, okay, who can reach out, to capital sources and energize those communal ideas to blossom. So it's not just about one person, it's about communal effort. Who are those here that have made it and believe in the growth of that community can help scale what is the area of strength of that community. Let me just do that. There's a question that was not answered. Maybe I can say something to that. This high capital intensive kinds of areas where there are opportunities like the maritime and all of that. This is where national strategy is very important. If you take a country like South Korea, what happened there was when their perspective plan said they were going to seek to dominate shipping, they didn't necessarily try to start inviting the big ship manufacturers. They look who are the smart young engineers in South Korea. And bankers, you sit down here. Steel makers, sit down here. You who want to become shipbuilders, what do you require to get there? They don't have capital, they don't, but they have talent and all of that. See, bankers, what will you require to be able to support people at this kind of level? Our big problems, we don't have a national strategy that you can build this around. And since we start talking blue economy, it just sounds like freezer, we're picking up things around, and by saying it, you don't understand, because the blue economy can balloon this economy if we have a clear national strategy. We will find somebody like him and say, okay, you, look, around the world, underwater painting, you look for one, go to Egypt, because one guy in Egypt decided to train people there 30, 40 years ago. Today, they are the dominant source of the world. And so, national strategy is very critical. And so, he can, with his experience, his talent, he shows that he really is committed through a clear national strategy, get the kind of support to play that territory.
Thank you very much, Prof, for that. And that's probably out from our teachings and thoughts to policy, right? National strategy. And I think that's something we need to actually look into. Like a tipping point, keep pushing and pushing and pushing until you get to the tipping point. So keep talking about this thing, we discuss about them, and someday, one day, we'll get to the tipping point. Thank you very much, our role models. Now please give a round of applause for our role models. I want to our role model and also to all of us in Kenya that we're going to have extra to time, even though we started behind to due to the circumstances beyond our control. And I'm happy to tell you that we try our best possible to keep the time. Yes. And we will round up right on time. At this moment, we want to be doing some quick presentations to our role model. Omar, please. Thank you very much. We want to have a presentation of our work. Then also for information, although I yet to get approval, but for those between the ages of 18 years old and 35 years old, these are the important announcements, 18 and 35 years old, are young people. We're working on, just like the Standard Open Convention, CVL will be working on a platform through which you can access mentorship. So what we do, we bring mentors and bring mentees. So through that platform, based on certain criteria, you can assess mentorship. You need to do due diligence and also make sure our KYC is very, very good. So we are between the ages of 18 and 35, that will be an opportunity for you. So just watch out on our websites, on our social media, and we will start to implement that very, very soon. I promise you in the next 2-3 months.
Some people are above 40.
Remember that song now? Let's show that song many years ago. We remember that song. Who can sing it? That's right. Àsìkò àwa yóò sì rí inú ayé. We don't have grow. And they don't grow now. So I'm very sorry for those. That was not our own social school of media as well. Whenever our producers come from outside Nigeria, even within Nigeria, they say you must be between the age of 18 All of those. Thank you very much again. And like I said, we're going straight into the. Our Romans have done so much, and we actually need to truly recognize them. I'm going to give them awards today, and I'll call on Dr. Abibola. Yes, we are trying our best to make sure that young people present this award. I believe the young man, right? All right. And I'll call on Professor Pantoni.
People has been
all right, sir.
One of the role model participants for maybe 20 years.
Yeah. And that's why I'm so excited to bring him forward, because people like me who have exemplified lessons from this forum over the years. Some who have attended this forum for 11 years. So I'm so excited about that. So I also call on our founder, Professor Pantoni, to join us on stage very quickly. And I call on, yes, Mr. Elias. You taught me how to pronounce it, you didn't tell me. I wanted to try to pronounce it. All right, sir.
On behalf of CVL, but quickly before I say that, I want to reiterate what our Prof has said. Yeah, it was about, I guess, 11 years ago that Prof mentioned in its forum like this about medical village. And through that singular idea, we have 2 hospitals that we bought and that is running. I just want to appreciate Prof for bringing us always together. And again, I want to appreciate our role model today. One of the things I learned from you, sir, is that we need to believe in what we want to do. So, on behalf of CVL, I want to present an award to an exceptional leader, to Ibina Kezwa Ibiubi. In appreciation of your commitment as a role model, today, Saturday, 23rd, 2024.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Well, let me again thank CVL for this honor, and to say it was for us to, greater exploits. And I want to dedicate the award to my family, my wife, who is been the rock behind all that I do, believing in me and promoting all my wahala. And of course, my children also who have been there, people will not say daddy and keep on doing what has been done. And I want to also appreciate and thank all the members of staff of the government who have believed in my dream and shared the dream and have helped me get to the bank the way it is. Thank you very much.
I call on Mr. Manish. Help us, Mr. Manish, please. Mr. Manish is presenting the award to our role model, Mr. Genamdi.
My name is Manish from the Art of Living Foundation, and I've been a great fan of Prof for so many years. When my daughter came to Nigeria, the first thing I did was I went and introduced her to Prof to take some advice about policies. So I'm a great fan of him. And we conduct Art of Living Foundation, we conduct stress management workshops, mental wellness, which is a big need in the society at present. So I would like to present this award on behalf of Center for Mobile Innovation to Mr. Nandi, Officer Thank you very much for the insight provided. Well, it was really wonderful. But according to me, for me, capitalism and mentorship, and apart from this, we also need to take care of our mental wellness. It's very, very important. In today's world, mental illness is one of the major problems in all the societies and especially at the workplace. So if I can be of any help to anybody, please let me know.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank Prof, our role model, because I think his followership is uncountable. I remember, I think it had been either later days in secondary school or early days in university, when he was with Volkswagen and later on many other things till today. Nationally, he's been such an inspiration. He stands for the truth, even in the political scene. Nobody, you're never in doubt where he stands. So, thank you for your mentorship. Without formal appointment, we know you've been mentoring us in our section. Well, I thank you for this idea. Very great, because you'll be amazed how many people take away tips from here we have them. Okay, I dedicate the award to all my mentors and my mentees, okay, across my career, and also all those who held my hand as I climbed the ladder of my career. This is 34 years now of doing nothing else than fun.
Everyone, please help me in holding back around. Let me hold. See, they are wearing suits.
Just a quick word about mentoring, because it's so important. I like to make the point that I got much more value education from mentors than I got from the university classroom. And I have in my books and all that talked significantly about two men. And just to make the point that mentors are not people you run to give me. There are people that you even give, and it's not money you're giving them, but you serve them in a way that they feel so good that they will too, that shaped my life. Better education from both of them than working on a PhD. Dr. Pius Okigo and Angio Badias. When I came back from grad school, I got to know them. And I tried to help them and do a few things they wanted to do, and I spent a lot of time. At a point in time, 2 times a week at least, I would just visit them, just ask them casual questions and I'm getting for continuously, which is why my classes in LBS are very interesting, because I'm not telling you what this person wrote, I'm telling you about what Pius Okigo said to Balewa when this policy was made, as told me by Pius Okigo. In fact, the way Balewa's face changed when the point was made. And so I think that we should work on mentoring, but don't see it as where you go and just take it. It's a give and take kind of situation. Thank you.